They're trying really hard, and they're really good, a lot of the judges, at the execution. But when it comes to special requirements, weird occurrences, start values, not so great.
Florida, UCLA, Utah, Clemson, Towson, Utah State, Central Michigan, Penn, and Southern Utah are conference champions, you guys. Congratulations to all. The Voineas are in the Romanian news again, and once again, it is not cute. We have regional assignments, so we'll let you know who has the easiest and hardest pathways to NCAA championships and who won the selection show, the most important part. We also have an interview with a longtime coach turned judge, both in club and NCAA, who was very surprised at what he found when he became a judge. Today is March 23rd, 2026. Welcome to GymCastic, the #1 gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and I'm here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation, and our world-famous live shows. We have a podcast tour, and our NCAA championship show is world-famous. And it's very fun, and we do it on the Friday night in between sessions in Fort Worth, Texas, at a beautiful theater. And our live shows are known for being the place where you get the tea that people won't ever tell in public, because our live shows are always private. So those tickets are on sale now, so you can get them at gymcastic.com. And you can attend virtually and play games and participate with listeners online, viewers online, or you can come in person. Both are available. First up, the Voinea family of Romania.
Yeah.
Time for headlines.
Use the traditional sigh before starting to talk about the Voinea family.
So this is famously, can you give people in the background on them in case they've forgotten who the Voineas are?
Camelia Voinea was a top Romanian gymnast in the late 1980s. Her daughter, Sabrina Voinea, is a current top gymnast who probably should have been the Olympic floor bronze medalist in 2024 if there had not been an out of bounds issue. And that's the good part. And then there's the behind the scenes part that Jessica will go into now.
So there are more articles, once again, on the violence from the family in Romanian news. So there was the story we covered a couple of weeks ago where Camilla, the mom, the coach, the police were called because her and her husband were having a fight in a hotel room or place that the coaches stay. And then he announced on Facebook that they were getting a divorce. And now there is a news story about her and physical violence against gymnasts. Additionally, we had a story last week about Sabrina, the daughter, who got into a physical altercation with another athlete. So the stories continue with this family, and none of them are good. And as far as it looks to me, the Romanian Federation is behind them and does not care about any of this. I think they would have to murder someone, or hopefully that doesn't happen, knocking on wood, for the Romanian Federation to do anything. That's, what it seems like to me. Also, I feel like athletes get in physical altercations. That's not the worst of what's happening. Like, people get pissed off and things happen. If you've ever been in a sports area, it happens.
Gross.
Not that it's right, but it happens. Okay. The cool thing that happened this week, we had the British Championships, which once again were on BBC. And if you enjoyed the coverage, it is the British communications team that puts that broadcast together, and then they give it to the BBC. I feel like that's what USAG should do, because then maybe it would be better than what NBC does sometimes. At least they would have more input.
I feel like you want the NBC infrastructure.
Yes.
Broadcast infrastructure.
Yes.
As part of it, even though we have complaints about it. I don't know. I think you want that coming in.
Yeah. I just I want like more of a mix, more input from all sides. I hope the athletes
You want it to be more like what we want? Yeah. I mean, I do. If that's where we're going. Yes.
Yes. So Ruby Evans and Joe Fraser are the all-around champions. Congratulations to them. Becky Downie, elite gymnast, world medalist, Olympic medalist, still going in her 30s and proving she still has it despite having problems finding a new coaching and a gym. And, she's had a lot of changes in the last year. So she won bars by hitting with a 14.6 on the final day, did an amazing job. Expect to see her at Worlds, I would say. She also
I mean, I never, with the British system, I feel like never say expect to see at Worlds, because who knows what's gonna. With Becky Downie's history with teams, I have no expectations. Just good job winning bars at British.
God, what is Worlds this year is qualifying for the Olympics as a team, right?
Yeah, there are spots available, but mostly next year's Worlds.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess it depends on where the bar situation is and if she hits everything. I also loved her Leo on finals day. It was like so sports, which normally we get all this glitter and, Muriel Grossfeldness. But I like...
No, you can't. Jessica cannot stop talking about Muriel Grossfeld.
More on Muriel Grossfeld later in this episode. So we have another letter with stories. Alice Kinsella continued her legacy of, and the great legacy of mothers, as they do, giving birth and then going back to gymnastics like Chuso, like Lisa Mason did at the British in her 30s. And so, this was only 6 months after giving birth, which is kind of amazing. But also, I think a testament to like good science and paying attention to your trainers, because there's so many athletes who don't listen, even though they feel great. And the trainers will be like, and their doctors are like, you still have oxytocin and it's making your ligaments, oxytocin, I think it's oxytocin, the thing that makes your ligaments come apart. They're like basically silly putty when you give birth, so that your bones will spread apart far enough for a whole ass baby to shoot through your pelvis.
So not a partial baby, a whole
whole ass baby.
You don't get to do it in pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it takes like 6 weeks or something for around then for the oxytocin to subside, and so for your ligaments to get taut again, so they're not just silly putty. And I remember there's a famous story of one of the famous soccer player that you would probably know the name of, who had a baby and then went back. She was like, I feel fine. I've been doing my, all my training. I haven't stopped anything. And the trainer was like, you shouldn't work out because it's only been, 3 weeks. And she was like, I feel fine. And ran out onto the field and immediately sprained her ankle and then was out because the oxytocin wasn't gone yet. So her ligaments were jelly. So Kinsella and the medical team, everyone working together. So great to see her back. Also, we had in the even greater tradition of falling off the podium.
I mean, like having a baby, fine, whatever, boo. More important than that, weird falls.
Weird falls. The great tradition of falling off the podium. Like Ellie Downie did that backwards roll off the podium that one time. And then Purvist, which is when you fall off the podium in straddle and straddle a judge's head. That's purvising. We now have a new entry.
Straddle a judge. I mean, I feel like this has gone. It has been exaggerated in your mind over the years.
The judge dodged, but there was a straddle coming onto the judge's head. But judges, who have all probably coached and done gymnastics, are very good at catching and moving away from athletes coming at them. Never forget that one in Singapore, was it, where she fell onto the judges' tables and the judges all grabbed their computers and ran backwards?
Well, yeah, you got to save the important stuff.
Exactly. So, if you're a visual listener, we can watch this now. This is Harry Hepworth doing a beautiful double front pike half, stepping off the mat and then being like, I'm already on the edge. I was falling sideways, my momentum's going, so I'm just gonna hop off and then salute from the ground, as a gentleman does.
Correct.
Safety first.
You landed it. Show that finish position. That's what I say.
He's a hero. Yeah. So we had
just because you lunged 15 times doesn't mean you can't pretend that you stuck. If we've learned nothing from women's college gymnastics, you
gaslight the judges.
Pretend that you stuck.
I meant to land on the floor. It's safer down here. Duh, you're welcome for my beautiful salute. We had conference championships this past weekend, College and Cocktails.
Sure
We
did.
went into lots of details from the championships, and that's available at gymcastic.com. Put in the show notes if you want to listen. It was really fun. We had a great time on Saturday. I enjoyed very much. So conference championships, Florida had the highest score of all the conference championships last night. Clemson had a historic first ever ACC title win, edging out Stanford by 0.025.
Quarter tenth.
We love a quarter tenth. A quarter tenth says anything is possible. A quarter tenth says we took maybe all the deductions. So if this were the NCAA finals, which it was not, but if we were pretending and looking at the scores, and this were NCAA finals, the final four would have been Florida, Oklahoma, UCLA, LSU in fourth.
Yeah.
And
Those
then
are also the top 4 teams in the rankings. I think a solid prediction. If you were trying to predict who's going to make the Final Four and play it safe, like you wanted to win and not have any fun, those are the 4 that I think you would pick.
Yeah, I agree. Rounding out the 8 who make it to NCAA championships.
And these are based on just their conference championship scores.
Right. Utah, Alabama, MSU, and Georgia would have rounded out the top 8. So we'll see how the scores go at regionals, and if this holds up, if the teams perform the same. I predict that Oklahoma losing to Florida at SECs will make them furious, and we will have a lot of angry beam.
Grab a
and
chandelier about it.
They will get a 198.7.
I will say that those 8 teams cannot make nationals, all 8 of them, because UCLA, Utah, and Alabama are all in the same regional, which we did just before starting to record this, get the regionals draw. The now hour-long draw broadcast on ESPNU, which Jessica loves and I can't stand. Because it could have been an email and it's an hour-long television show, and I'm like, all right, let's
drama.
I need let's dispense with all this nonsense. Just tell me what happened. What's going on?
Okay, so regional draw headlines, give them to us. I'm very nervous.
Jessica's regional draw headline has nothing to do with the draw. It's the teams and their little arrangements that they have, and Florida showing up by a pool to get their regionals draw assignment, as everyone else is huddled in a film room that belonging to another sport that obviously the gymnasts don't even use, but they want to be in the place with the fanciest looking seats, so they're going to be in the film room to get their assignment.
Florida by the pool is the most genius marketing recruiting strategy.
Yeah,
it could only have been better if they drove an hour and a half to the beach and did it there, which you guys do that next year. Like, make it look like or that lagoon. I think there's like a lagoon, which obviously never go into fresh water in Florida. It's full of alligators or crocodiles or whatever. Gators. That's what it is.
They are the gators.
The gators. Anyway, but yeah, go there. Honestly, like, do bug spray and go to a lagoon. This is my even better recruiting strategy. Yeah. This was so genius. Like, we were talking about who's going to do the most. Like, was UCLA going to choreograph a dance? But we got something different at UCLA.
UCLA, this was happening at 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's what we got from UCLA and most of the West Coast teams. They were like, interesting idea. We have to be there in these seats at 9 a.m. and we're not choreographing anything.
Yeah. Exactly. Morning. Although so many teams work out in the morning
Florida
now.
Sent a message to anyone who is in like Massachusetts right now, and it was like, guess what? It's sunny and a pool.
Are you freezing? Did you have to shovel your driveway?
Is it snowing? Because it's not here. We're at a pool. Come to Florida. Here's a trophy and the sun. So yeah, they understood the assignment. Everyone else was like in a boring film room, pretending that they were surprised and excited to learn information that we all already knew. But, it's a selection show. I think that's what bothers me. It's just like an exercise in fake. And so much of college gymnastics is that anyway. It's just like, we all know you're being fake. And it's just like, let's scream and act excited that our name was called, even though we already have our plane tickets are already bought. We know where we're going.
The
And we know
brackets were
what
already up before the show started.
we know what the teams are. We know what's going on. This is not news, but we have to like scream and pretend to be excited about it.
I was upset that nobody did what I said to do, which was don't be fake, throw shit at the TV, throw your hands up in the air, like basically act like the sports ball basketball is happening right now. And the way people are acting, especially the grown men, not so much the women, is insane. And just act like that, because clearly it works for them. They're getting all the money and all the stuff. So
yeah,
go for it.
I think one of the problems is that this year's regionals draw like weirdly made sense.
Ooh.
It was like I have the fewest complaints. It was the least stupid draw in a long time. I think because they didn't have to do any host rearranging because they predetermined the 4 regionals hosts. And then so sometimes if there's a seed conflict, like 2 seeds that are both hosts would go to the same regional, they have to rearrange everything. And then it gets funky. And it's like, why did we even do a season if you're just going to rearrange all the seedings anyway? Like, why do we even have rankings? They didn't have to do any of that this year. So everyone kind of went, at least according to the rules, according to the predetermined system. You can argue with the system, and I have, but they like went according to a logical progression of where teams' rankings would put them. So it was one of their best ones. But we do get the regional we've been kind of previewing because it's sort of been heading that direction, but it is official now that UCLA, Alabama, and Utah are all in the same regional, with only 2 teams advancing to the national championship, which is going to be very fun for me. And I think is a win for the new NQS system in general, because this would not have happened with the old NQS, because Utah would have been able to drop enough of those bad meets when you were able to drop more scores that their ranking still would have been in the top 8. And so the way regionals would have gone with the old NQS is maybe more reflective of overall quality, but way less entertaining.
Yeah.
It's worse sport. This is better sport for the neutrals, which is in some ways surprising for college gymnastics, because I feel like fan experience is never on the top of the list when they're making any decisions. Cut to many discussions about exhibition routines that we've had over the years, which is like, we get why teams want them. We get why gymnasts want them. I get why it's good for you. It's not good for us. It's very boring for us. The fan experience is never top priority, but here it kind of is. Because like, if I'm any of these 3 teams, I'm so pissed about this. I want to get to nationals, and this is making it really hard because at least one of those teams isn't going to, but it's great for us.
Yeah, this one it makes sense by the numbers, which is kind of shocking because Alabama and Utah, you would think they would be separated in other times, but it's really exciting. And that's the thing about conference championships is like at the end, it was
supposed to be exciting. Yeah.
Because it matters. This is when it gets really exciting, which it's not all feelings and everybody gets an award, which is also so nice. But that's like when you're a little kid. Now you're a big girl in college. And so cuts happen. That's the thing. Yeah.
We also got, I think maybe the most interesting regional semifinal is going to be in LSU's regional, because their semifinal has Clemson and Auburn in it. Clemson just won the ACC championship. They're seeded. Auburn's unseeded. Still very talented, though, and we kind of had a question about this. We did have a question about this on College and Cocktails and the Auburn coaching, and just how we were talking about just how injured they always are, and how this is such a talented roster, but then no one's ever able to compete what we expected. But if they're just a little bit healthier, that's a 197 team. So that should be a very fun regional semifinal. That's another one I'm really looking forward to.
Yep. Yeah, I'm very happy for Clemson that they're doing so well in this first year. I mean, they've done well consistently, but big changes and they're doing well. It's also going to be, and they have a conference championship. So even though they have a tough regional, they may not make the regional final out of that with Auburn in there. That wouldn't be that shocking, but they could already point to like, we won a conference championship. So sign us to a $1 billion contract is what I'm saying. Yes. A couple updates for you before we get to a Rage-O-Meter this week and a fantasy update, and
it's been
then
a while.
Get into regionals in our interview more in depth. This week, it is a behind-the-scenes episode on Friday at noon Pacific, and this is a special extra that we have. It's a live Q&A podcast every week that we have for our Club Gym Nerd members who help support the independent journalism that we do here and the travel that we have to pay for. So, and then we have College and Cocktails when there's a college meet, and it's an unfiltered post-meet breakdown. And you can ask questions. So we also have extended interviews, discounts, commissions on segments. And then we have our podcast tour. You can get a season pass. 4 in-person shows for the price of 3. You can also attend virtually to any of our shows. NCAA tickets for that live show are on sale now. People love this show so much. People make this an annual vacation. They go with their friends to watch NCAAs.
That's too much pressure. Don't tell me that.
They love this. Yeah, and this is part of it every year for a long time. It's super fun. So, and of course, we'll always have a special guest or guests. You know, there's always a surprise. Remember, the season pass is only available to Club Gym Nerd members, but it is well worth it. And Club Gym Nerd also makes a great gift, by the way. You can get it at Join the Club tab.
That's Jessica's now creating ad slogans for LSD.
Is that how they take it now?
I don't know. Like, I really shouldn't make jokes about drugs I don't understand and have never.
I've never done.
Like, which one?
Same.
Jessica and I are not the ones to ask about drugs. We're like, which one is acid? Is that a one that?
Yeah, I don't know. I only know from my friends' terrible experiences, and I'm just like, why'd you do that then? Yes. So, speaking of that, you can play with us if you want. Fantasy Gymnastics League. We have it all year long, not just for NCAA. You can check out the daily, weekly Deals and Steals because we have a fantasy podcast. We also have gymnastics games like Gymdle crossword news quizzes. One person got the Gymdle and one guess this week. And we have merch so that you can find your people in real life and especially represent if you're going to regionals or NCAA championships. You want to have a I Love Gymnastics shirt or a Be Your Own Hero or a Gymnastics is for Everyone with a giant rainbow on it, or a GymCastic shirt or College and Cocktails. We have it all, and you can wear it, you can hold it up, we have banners, all that kind of stuff in the store. So you can find everything at gymcastic.com. And we have a fantasy update for you from our fantasy league. Spencer.
Okay. No fantasy show this week because there's nothing to preview for you because there are no competitions this next weekend. Season winner, regular season, GymCastic Fantasy League winner is KJ Kindler's horse farm because do your photo shoot at a horse farm and then you will finish the season ranked number 1. The current week 12 leader is Tabby Douglas. Most importantly, I tied for 8th this week. 8th place national champion is me. That's the shirt. 8th place national champion. That's what I want. I qualified for nationals, is what I'm saying. With my 8th place finish. And I should say, KJ Kindler's Horse Farm, winner of a full commission for winning the season.
Episode.
So
congratulations.
I expect it to be about horses in gymnastics history. And Jessica can talk about how, well, the original pommel horse was alive or whatever.
Yes,
you want.
That's how it happened.
Yeah. So we will have a regionals game, a specific regional championships fantasy game with new pricing that will be up soon.
And I was mentioning how Club Gym Nerd members can commission a segment or a Rage-O-Meter, a Joy-O-Meter. Now we have one.
Yes, this is from gold level Club Gym Nerd member. Point your damn toes, which is always good advice, especially with an exclamation point at the end. Am I reading this Rage-O-Meter? Or is it more appropriate for you because it is about breasts?
Yes, leave it to me. I've got this one. Okay, prepare yourselves. I cannot with these backless Leos. As a large-chested gymnast, this hurts literally and figuratively. UCLA is the worst offender. Love y'all, but come on. Gymnasts need sports bra support in this beautiful but demanding sport. Some athletes must feel they cannot speak up, and this is harmful to their long-term breast health. and don't even with the useless GK plastic clear straps.
Solid. Very good performance.
Thank you.
Oscar worthy. So if you yourself would like to make Jessica yell about long-term breast health, you can commission a rage or joy meter if you're feeling joyful for some reason by joining Club Gym Nerd at the gold level at gymcastic.com.
Let's discuss the regional draw, shall we?
Yeah, because I need to get into a little bit more depth, go through it a little bit more. So will we do do we want to do a preview next week, like an actual preview of regionals, or just like this is it?
Maybe a little next week.
A little next week? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, regionals draw, Kentucky regional. Semifinal 1 is Missouri, Arkansas, NC State, Maryland. Semifinal 2 is Oklahoma, Kentucky, Ohio State, and the winner of the Central Michigan Rutgers play-in round 1 competition. It was a win for Kentucky to get up to number 6. They had a solid score enough at conference championships that they got up to the number 16 ranking. The top 16 teams are seeded. So that was, I guess, a win for competitive balance, but a loss for ridiculous chaos. Because if they had been unseeded in their own hosted regional, that would have been a messy semifinal. This is less messy, but we still get the Missouri, Arkansas, and Kentucky together in Oklahoma's regional. Oklahoma, assuming Oklahoma's going to qualify, but you never know. But Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky really feel like that could be anyone. So that's very exciting. The Oregon State is also hosting a regional. Oregon State regional, semifinal number 1. This is the UCLA, Alabama, Utah one we've been talking about. So semifinal 1 is Alabama, Utah, Denver, Oregon State. That's a good one. Semifinal 2 is UCLA, Minnesota, Iowa, and then the winner of the San Jose State, University of Washington play-in, the Jessica O'Byrne Classic, the San Jose State, Washington meet to try to get into the regional semifinals. We have the LSU regional. Semifinal 1 is Stanford, Michigan, North Carolina, Utah State. Semifinal 2 is LSU, Clemson, Auburn, and the winner of the Air Force versus Nebraska play-in. Regional 4 is in Arizona State. We have semifinal 1 is the Georgia, Michigan State, BYU, Southern Utah semifinal. Semifinal 2 is Florida, Cal, Penn State, and then Arizona State against Arizona for the final spot, the play-in. Some solid play-ins.
Yes.
It's a good group of, storyline-y. Like, I don't have any association for Arizona State versus Arizona, but people there probably do.
Oh,
it's like a rivalry or whatnot.
Yes, so the whole family lineage.
Those meets are always hard because they're like in the middle of a weekday. And so they're entertaining, but it's kind of like, it's hard to get revved up maybe for those. It's like 2 p.m. on a Wednesday for two teams that like no one has who there has any association with. So if you have Arizona State against Arizona at Arizona State, that hopefully that gets a little more like, ooh, we get some crowd going, some energy in the venue. That would be fun.
And a reminder, the play-in meets are if you win, the winner of that 2-team duel, if they win, they go into the next round. So, and then they have to compete an extra day, but still, like, it's really cool that they get
your season continues, and the alternative is bye.
You're done. Yeah.
So, yeah, the reactions. Any reactions on seeing/hearing me say the draws and the regionals?
Yeah. I'm very. I'm the Stanford, Michigan meet makes me very nervous because I feel like Stanford, they're both such great teams. But Stanford it was finals week this week for Stanford. So I feel like that explains they did great, but not their peak because having finals and competing at the same time, which almost all these gymnasts have to do at some point, is really hard and stressful. Stanford's so good and they have such a great team and they have such a great team vibe and they have Anna Roberts and I need her to go and either way she should qualify, but also Michigan is really great. and they have Boozer, and she's amazing. And I just
did
one
once
makes me
again think you
nervous.
say Michigan's really great, and they have booze. So
Ann Arbor is known for booze. Also, the CMU Rutgers meet, I'm excited for that one because CMU has Luciana Alvarado, Olympian. Remember, she did when they were like, you can't protest at any Olympics. And she was like, watch me. And then did her Black Power pose at the end of her Olympic floor routine in Tokyo. And she is just a beautiful gymnast to watch. I'm also excited for Rutgers. And I hope they wear their French teenager.
They're Leo?
Yes.
Which Jessica cannot remember. So we had an issue on College and Cocktails this week because Jessica can't remember Joan of Arc. And she asked me for a French teenager. And I was like, Elena Colas.
French teenager.
She was like, no, Joan
Warrior burned at the stake or something. Yes, that's Joan of Arc. Thank you. I won't commit this to memory, but they are the knights, and they wore a knight armor Leo with a sword.
There was a middle sword.
More women need that in regular life right now, so it's great. I am also nervous for every team because ICE has been deployed at airports now because Republicans refuse to sign the law to pay TSA, and so now already people are being arrested at airports by masked men who will not say who they are or show any badges, and it's very scary. So I just want all the teams to fly private in a huddle and be safe because it makes me very nervous for everyone. It makes me nervous for everyone, but I'm especially distracted and thinking about that right now. And we do have a resistance page in the show notes for anyone that wants to take action and do something. Instead of feeling anxious about it, take action. That's always in every show notes. Okay. Do we need to book an emergency therapy session about...
Yeah.
What's your list of emergency therapy we need about regionals?
Okay. Yes. Well, I would say I would gift a therapy gift card to everyone else who's in the UCLA, Alabama, Utah regional. So poor Minnesota, who's had a great season and has great gymnasts, also is in that. And that's going to be very difficult. Iowa's there, Denver, Oregon State. It's going to be very difficult to qualify as a team, but also to get your one individual is whatever team, if Utah doesn't qualify, like Avery and F's like, I'm sorry, these spots are all mine. Or if Alabama doesn't qualify, it's Gabby Gladio and Chloe LaCourciere and Azare Rockbar, or the individual spot at Nationals, that's mine. And if UCLA doesn't qualify, there's someone named Jordan Chiles. So really difficult for those schools to get individual spots. So I would be like, yeah, you get to, if you're going to throw a sandal at a garage door or something, they get to do that. And it's very fair because they got, the short end of the stick with the regionals draws and how that worked out. Also, for all the individual qualifiers who are just, we got to figure out what we're doing. And by we, I mean NCAA Gymnastics with individual titles and individual qualifiers, because the current setup is we're doing it, but you're an afterthought. And the messaging we want to let everyone know is you're an afterthought. Even in the draw, it was, they presented what the regionals were. And then at the end, in the selection show, when everything was done, they were like, oh, and also here are the event qualifiers by done. And it's kind of like we always hear the stories when we get to nationals about the individual qualifiers. So it's just like, oh, they had a banquet and all of the big banquet tables for all of the teams. And then the individual qualifiers were like, here's some tap water and a rice cake over in the corner. And then it's like, I'm barely exaggerating here. So there's kind of the messaging is you don't matter and we don't want to actually have to do this. And you're just kind of an afterthought. So they need to either do it or don't, kind of. Either say individual, and how individual titles are based on the semifinal because they don't do event finals anymore. And it's kind of like, oh, wait, that happened? There were individual titles? Wait, who won? When? What was that based on? It's kind of, either commit or just this is not an individual sport at this point, which is bad. I don't support that part of the argument. It just feels like we're kind of in between.
Yeah. And I like the individual titles. We've had so many individuals qualify who've done great things and who have won in the past, 3-time
Jenny
all
Hansen.
around winner Jenny Hansen, like there can be incredible people and it shouldn't be an afterthought. And yeah, I wish it was like more fair for them. And I know all the teams like embrace their individual and they make them part of the team usually if they want that and all of that stuff. But yeah, I feel like they should be able to go like in the middle of the lineup.
But it's also, that's very like, I feel like it's when the cameras turn on, this is our closest sister. But the way, and within the teams, that's fine. But then the way that like the organization and the things that like, I'm sure like a sophomore on the team who's paired with this individual is like, yes, great, we support you, cheer, cheer, cheer. But you don't have that. The gymnast on the team doesn't have any control of like how the organization of the meet itself is done, and that's where it's kind of falling down.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I get them going last too because it's like
you could have another day.
Yeah.
Like they used to.
I mean, we love more days. Anything else?
The other person I feel the worst for is me having to watch this show. Also, it was like, you know, I understand I was talking about the West Coast teams having to do this early, and I understand I was having a time. I had to so sometimes you're doing a post on the balance beam situation about regionals, and you mean to click save draft, but instead you click publish, and you're very much not done yet.
I don't know what that's like. That's never happened to me.
You've never done that before.
Never made a mistake like
done that before.
Ever.
Yeah. So that was a really good one. It was going great. I also do want to kind of nitpick the individual placements because it's weird. And some of this is such a small issue and only something that I care about. But what else is this show for?
Exactly.
Some of the regionals are overstuffed with individuals to the point where they're going to have two people go after the team goes in some rotations in the semifinals, where it's like all 6 members of the team and then another individual and then another individual. Well, there's another event that doesn't have any, and it's lopsided in the individual assignments, and I would prefer it to be done differently. Very small thing, but it's going to bug me.
Yeah.
The unevenness is really going to bug me. Because they're like, the LSU regional has like 5 all-arounders and 5 floor qualifiers. And I'm like, you only have 8 rotation groups, so that's not going to fit. The Oregon State regional only has 1 all-arounder because Washington and San Jose State have so many beamers. They're qualified so many beamers who have to go as individuals. So it's kind of a whole mess, some of which was unavoidable, but I had some issues.
Is there anything you want to talk about with people representing for those who aren't really awake in the morning but have to do interviews?
That was the other thing I was saying before we started. I just really felt represented by Jordan Chiles having to do an interview because she was like, we want to come together as a show and resonate with people who resonate with us. And I was like, oh, Jordan's fighting it. She's like, you guys, don't make me do an interview right now. And I was dying watching Jordan try to stumble through this, like, okay, fight, sisterhood, struggle, team. Got it. Those are my ones. Yes. Just put them together. And that you come up with the other words, but like, fight, struggle, team, UCLA Bruins, show, go Bruins, 4's up, show. Right? That's fine. Yep. And everyone was like, yeah, that's fine. That's what we were looking for. We were looking for Jordan Chiles to be here. You did your job. Check mark.
Love it.
Oh, so one thing we do need to talk about, a change this year. So it used to be there was a predetermined starting event for teams. Like they would be a predetermined draw. The number 1 team in each semifinal starts on beam. The number 2 team starts on vault. They changed that this year. So the teams are going to get to pick their own starting events. They pick in rank order. So like Oklahoma gets to pick first and then the next team and then the next team. Thoughts? Pro or anti? No opinion whatsoever, which was also an option.
I don't like the teams being able to pick based on ranking. I think it should be a random draw.
Okay.
I mean, but also like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, it should be that there should be the one thing that it doesn't matter what order you go in.
Well, that's what any coach will tell you.
Right.
We're prepared
that's
to
what you
start
should
at any
train
event.
For. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah,
I
think
kind of don't have an opinion, but I was interested to see whether you did. Do you think, because as we record this, they have not picked yet, but they will have picked by the time anyone listens to this. Do you think it's just going to be like seed number 1 picks vault and seed number 2 picks bars, and then maybe seed number 3 picks floor, and then seed number 4 picks beam? Is it just going to be that every single time? Okay.
But then again, it depends on your team. If your team is like really good and practices on going on beam first, and they're totally ready for that, or if you have a team that's like so injured that if you do, or like so in the middle of finals or whatever is happening, if they do floor last, they're gonna be gassed and can't do it, and it's like the whole team has. I mean, there's so many gymnasts like posting their flu, influenza A test results this week. Like Utah had a few of those. It could depend on the health of the team too. So, but in general, yeah, I think it'll be Olympic order that the main teams choose.
The interesting thing for me with that is like when you get down to the third team, and typically vault is already taken and bars is already taken, and I think then you get the switch of which teams are like, we don't want to start on beam, so we'll actually pick floor, versus which teams say we hate starting on floor because everyone is either sleepy and still not ready and land short, or too overamped with the excitement of the postseason meet and then bounce out of bounds on every. So I've definitely heard from coaches that they really don't like starting on floor, but others are like, we don't like starting on beam. So that's the one that's sometimes an interest. That's really a preference thing.
Yeah. Next up, it is time for Gymternet news. So, Amanda Yap, remember our beautiful, amazing star, made beam finals at Worlds from Singapore. She has won, she's 16, and she won the Young Singaporean of the Year award from the Straits Times. An award recognizes the Straits. It's not spelled.
I know.
Straits.
I know.
It's Straits like oceans. Straits. Yes. Although that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No.
I think there should be a satirical newspaper
called The
written
Straits
by LGBTQ people called The Straits Times.
So it recognizes a young Singaporean under 18 who has shown courage, compassion, empathy, kindness, or spirit of service, and has made an impact on their peers. I love this because it's not win shit. It's, are you a good person? Mm-hmm. And that's what it's for. She also won a trophy and a cash prize of $5,000.
There's enough of that compassion nonsense. Get to the cash prize.
And a 3-night stay at the Millennium Hotels and Resorts Global Properties. And a pair of Singapore Airlines economy class tickets. I love that. You take yourself on a vacation. That's excellent. That's an excellent prize, a little vacation. Just as I said, Spencer, Lily Smith might not be done. Mm-hmm. According to the Online Athens paper, she told the SEC network during the broadcast Saturday at the championships that she could compete for Georgia if they make the national championship, which I said, it depends on the fracture. If you have like 6 weeks, if you do like a bunch of vitamin D and you do all the stuff and you heal, depends on how fast you can heal a fracture and what kind of fracture it is. So once again, vindicated. The U.S. war in Iran and other countries in Iran has forced the cancellation of the World Cup meet in Doha. So World Gymnastics, formerly known as the artist formerly known as the FIG, has decided to cancel the meet in Doha. That would be the Apparatus World Cup. The executive committee took a vote and decided not to have it. So they still had the World Cup in Turkey, and so far they have not canceled the one in Cairo, but they have canceled the one in Doha. And Doha is basically, it's right across the water from Iran. So right in the middle and right next to Dubai, and Dubai is getting bombed too. So I think this is a really smart decision. D'Amato out. Alice D'Amato is out with shoulder surgery. So
we not have a D'Amato injured every second of our lives.
Can we? I know, honestly, And like, is it the gymnastics? Is it the training? Is it the recovery? Is it something like, what can we do so that we can, or is it, yeah, I want them to be healthy because they are so incredibly beautiful to watch. So we are wishing them the best. Next, we are going to talk to Jason Buttons. Jason has been a coach for 30 years, now a program director, and recently became a judge, both for club and NCAA. And when he became a judge, he was super surprised by what he found on the other side of the gymnastics. And so he is here today to talk about his experience. Here's Jason. What levels are you judging?
So I'm 4 years of judging. Level 10, compulsory Excel, level 10, college, pretty much everything.
How has your perspective changed since you have started judging?
I will say we have a high caliber team program, and as a coach, I definitely coached to maximize their scores. And of course, I had athletes that I had to code hack the code a little bit to allow them to still have 10 start values. But what I didn't pay attention as a coach is if my kid didn't hit and they fell a couple times, or I didn't look at the start value. I didn't really look at the score. I'm like, didn't do well. Now that I'm sitting behind the table, I realize it's really easy for judges to judge really good routines. It's very hard to judge fairly bad routines, or ones that maybe the kid didn't hit. It was a good skill, but they don't get credit for bonus and they're missing things. And that's when I started saying, oh my gosh, they don't know what they're doing. They're guessing. They're trying really hard and they're really good, a lot of the judges, at the execution. But when it comes to special requirements, weird occurrences, start values, not so great. They know their shorthand. They're really proud of that. I don't have shorthand. I have my own system right now. I think for the national rating, I'll have to know it at that point. And I've slowly been integrating it just because I feel like there's no reason not to. But there's more to judging than getting the shorthand right, for sure.
So can you give an example of one of the first experiences you had noticing this happening as a judge?
So as a judge, there was an instance recently, college level, and the judge insisted that the athlete did a double pike dismount off bars. And when I say that she did a double layout off bars, it was stretched. In fact, I had written down leg split, because her leg split, it was not a double pike. And not a lot of college athletes do that because it's not up to level and not requirement. And even if you wanted to say it was a lay pike or she piked it down, sure. She didn't really pike it down, but maybe from your angle. She said, no, she hit her bars and hit her feet and did a double pike. And so I'm starting to notice that they have trouble with skill recognition. Like they just saw it as a totally different skill, not as a poorly executed double layout. I called it a pike, as a different skill. And same with like leaps on floor. Like when I see a round off, I know it's a round off. When I see a turgite, I know it's a turgite. When I see a switch half, it's a switch half. I don't have to now which way did you, and I'm sure the same thing is true with ice skating. I'm sure if you're really good at ice skating, you see it as a triple Lutz. You don't have to look to see what edges they're on and how many rotations they do, because when you're an expert in your sport, you just recognize the skill values. And as the sport has accelerated and the judges have continued to be apart for many, many decades, and they don't stay involved enough in the sport to see the skills, they're not recognizing all these elements. They're just writing, that was a release and that looked like a D, so I'm going to call that a D release, but I don't really know what it's called or what it is. That's sure happening.
Yeah. What happens when you're judging and you see this, and when you point those things out, what happens in the moment?
So in a club situation, club gymnastics judging, you're sitting, for the most part, unless it's like regionals or nationals, you are seated next to that judge. And I'm definitely one of the judges, and I'm going to talk to her. And I'm like, her. Well, I have judged with a guy once or twice, but it's mostly
the majority.
Her. Yeah. I'll say, ooh, did you give that credit? And she's like, I'm not sure, because I would only ask because maybe my view obstructed. But when we disagree with the start value, I'm like, she did this, she did that. And usually there's a couple stubborn judges out there that think they know what they're seeing, but for the most part, they're pretty reasonable, and they can adjust what they wrote down and give the right score. In college, though, they somehow think that it's ripe with judge cheating. I'm like, this is not the 92 Olympics. We're not rooting for LSU. They got to win this meet. Like, do not care one iota. Even if I had been an alum, I wouldn't be trying to cheat for LSU. And so if they would allow us to communicate a little bit more, but we're not. We can't talk at all unless there's a conference and after the score is put in, and then we can't change the score unless there's an inquiry. So they've put up all these roadblocks that make it harder to make sure we are giving the kid the right score. And delaying the meet because we have to inquire or, have a conference every single time there's a disagreement in start value.
That's why they need to bring back the phones, the big yellow phones. That would make it so much easier.
Yes. It would probably still make it longer, but it would be helpful. Or if we had like a video inquiry system where we could replay the video and watch it ourselves. Even when it comes to, I don't know if you're aware, even in club with video inquiry, you cannot slow-mo it. And I'm like, why? Isn't the whole point to get it right? Well, I get that the naked eye maybe didn't see it that way, but the whole point is, did she hit 180 or not? And if the video shows that, when I slow it down, then I should be allowed to do that because we're just trying to get the right score.
Right. And this is what they do in most sports. You can slow-mo it. That's the whole point of...
Right.
Yeah. Is it worse in college, better in college, the same in college? Because you expect the college judges, it's harder to become a college judge, that would be a higher level of, the judges would be more consistent.
So unfortunately, a lot of the good judges don't do college because they're getting the assignments to be on nationals and Easterns and regionals and judge the higher invitationals. And so they're making a little bit more money. They have to work harder for the money they're making because it's longer days. And so the judges that show up in college, for the most part, I'd say 75% of them are the ones that aren't getting assignments in their own area because they aren't deemed a qualified judge. They're not ranked well. And so they struggle. And recently they passed a new test. I don't know if you're aware of the old test for college. Last year, so every year they do a little test. And it was an open book test, which fine, written questions. And if you failed it, you just kept taking it again and again until you got it right. And it gave you the answers after you failed it. So you could print them out. And then so this was their form of testing to make sure everyone's ready for the season. So this time they did a smarter approach, and they have a kind of video system where they're able to show a video, see it, recognize it, only get to see it once, or maybe you could see it multiple times, but basically a higher level accountability. And these judges were complaining, and you only got to take it twice. And so then they cheated. And on attempt 2, they did it with a buddy. So they could both be helping each other out at the same time. Because of course it's not in person, and which the test was not hard. It was just standard college, the no trick questions like what should be the start value or what is the bonus awarded for this skill. And they were like, oh, it was a weird angle. I'm like, no, it wasn't. I took the same test. It was easy. I got 100. It was not hard. It was just a gymnastics test. And part of me was like, we need to do this across the board all the time, because I mentioned this to someone. They're like, well, I'm afraid judges won't judge anymore. I'm like, good. We don't want them judging if they don't know their stuff.
This is the biggest complaint that I hear all the time, that people are, judges feel like they get official abuse is a term that is used in sports. And I'm like, you guys have no idea. The soccer referees out here are getting beat up, which is horrible and wrong.
Right.
And I'm just like, just because someone said they don't agree with your, score isn't abuse of a referee. But then people don't want the accountability, or they think all the judges will quit. There won't be enough judges if there's more accountability. And I'm like, if accountability is what you're afraid of, maybe those are the people that shouldn't be doing this.
Correct. And I will say there could be a better system with giving the feedback, right? Right now we have the scoreboard system. They're not doing a whole lot with that. I was part of a scoreboard evaluation and I got no feedback, good or bad. I mean, I did say something to the person that said, oh, I saw you at this this meet. And I go, okay, well, I didn't get any feedback. Oh, that means there wasn't a problem. I'm like, I still would, if you're going to take time to like watch it, like give some feedback. Like even if it's like, oh, you were a little harsh on this or a little easy on this, it was still the right score within range. But if you're going to be doing it, let's give some active feedback. Let us know that we're being evaluated. Maybe they'll bring their A game and they'll study and try a little harder instead of it being after the fact. I know, think about it in peer revision in school. Like, when the principal's coming, oh, I'm going to have my best lesson plan. I'm going to be ready. Not that we shouldn't do it all the time, but you up your game. And the process of doing that might encourage them to study a little bit better or know their stuff a little bit better. For sure. I will say in that incident, and you're also allowed to do like surveys at the end. But I don't know how many people submit the survey and do that. They're kind of generic questions. But I will say, when I was talking about that routine with the double pike versus the double layout, the college coach was very upset with a lot of the judging that the meet ref was involved in. And so she did meet with her at the end and just kind of ripped her a new one, but that course is not actually helpful. And so she just kind of defended herself or whatnot, and then delayed us getting to leave. And then she came back and gave us feedback, but none of it was official. It was just a coach getting really, really mad, and she was shrugged it off. I'm not sure what happens with it, but I've never gotten any official feedback ever. From anyone. I mean, I will say in a situation like a larger competition, sometimes the meet ref will say, hey, in this last session, make sure that we're counting up our A's and B's, like, because we had some problems. But I will say other meet refs are better. Like, it used to be they would actually sit down and like judge and then give feedback, like as a mentorship. But that doesn't really happen that often, and it takes a very special meet ref to want to do that. And feel confident, because a lot of the judges, sometimes the meet ref is the least qualified judge. And that's why they were the meet ref, because they know the rules, but it's what they do when, so-and-so is kind of phasing out. So we're going to make her the meet ref because she can handle that a little bit better. But you want the meet ref to know the rules forward and backward and to be mentoring them. They should be the most knowledgeable judge in the panel. And that is not always the case.
What percentage of time do you see a judging error?
Once a rotation. like absolutely.
So every like 5 routines, 6 routines.
Once a rotation. So like, I guess
for
once
club
a
it'll
session.
be more. Okay.
Yeah, because there's more in college. I would say there's probably, if I'm on bars for a quad meet, I would say there were probably one kid in the lineup because they didn't make the release or they didn't have an up to level. I mean, I even made one at a recent meet. A kid did blind full or blind half into a dismount, and she balked and did the layout. Well, I had the start value correct because of her difficulty, but I forgot to flip the up to level, 10th off for that, because I was in my mind only looking for not having the releases that you need for up to level. And there's an up to level deduction for the dismount. So, I mean, we fixed it. I'm not going to forget that again. I haven't judged a ton of college at all the different events. So thankfully there are 2 judges, but there are many people that have been doing it for 20 years that make similar mistakes. And sometimes it goes unchecked. It just depends on how on it the coach is to like, okay, and to immediately inquire there. I mean, and of course there's the session summaries at the end, which are kind of helpful. I don't know. But I have had athletes bring it back to me that are competing in college right now. And they said, oh, they took off from my front layout into my front Rudy being low. And like, they can't do that. It's an accelerating salto. There's no amplitude deduction for that. And they had told it to her several session summaries. The judges were taking it, and there is no deduction for that. Leg split, excessive arch, all of that you can take off for, not for amplitude on accelerating salto into a double salto pass. It's actually in the code that you can't.
So when it's a front layout step out or a whip back, neither of those could be taken off into something. The skill you're accelerating into can be for amplitude,
correct,
but not the one that you're using just for speed to get into it.
Nope. Whips are actually in their own code in their own box. So a front layout has a special rule in the code of points that says it's an accelerating salto. And these judges, I mean, some of them know it. I would say 50. And you don't always know what they're deducting for, because if you're in range, if I have a 9.6 and they have a 9.4, I'm not questioning that. You could have been harsher on the leap or whatever, but I mean, I have had judges tell me that they have taken deductions on their steps on their chest position when they landed. So they landed their dismount on beam and they had their chest down and they took a step, and then like, oh, then on each step she had her chest down. Like, there's no, what? No,
that's
that's
one
not a
deduction.
deduction. Just the steps. Just the steps. Or they have a problems with counting. Again, this goes back to counting. Like they'll literally do 4 steps. So I have 4/10. That's the max you can take on steps. Like, oh, I took 2 or 3/10 on that. I'm like, no.
Every
She took
step
4. She ran
up
out. I'm
to.
sorry, it went too quick for you, but that's what happened. But I would say that the biggest problem with a lot of the judges is skill recognition. They have a hard time with that, and then implementing the different rules between Excel and Dev and college. I mean, and I get it when it's mixed levels. I mean, when I'm judging, I'm constantly repeating the the requirements in my head to make sure that I'm not overlooking something. Like I would never be so confident that I don't have to review it and make sure it's fresh in my mind. Because yes, when you're judging a multi-level division session with kids that are really good versus kids that are not, like you have to you can't go into autopilot because you will make a mistake.
You mentioned the routine summary, and we talk about that a lot because this is essentially the only kind of receipt of a routine and what deductions
Right.
were given, what was valued, what connections were given that an athlete and a coach have access to. So we've heard various things about the summaries that sometimes it's, you're not going to remember, especially if you're at a big club meet, the routine you judged 5 hours ago in a 10-hour long,
So they don't
meet.
do them in club. There's no
Oh,
routine
you
summaries in
can't get
club.
them in some club.
You get inquiries, but even there, I will tell you, all of the college coaches or college judges I've been with, to some degree, they're making it up because when you are
That's my
writing
question.
down, yes. So let's say you have written on your paper that they did a switch leap. Like that's clearly because they all did shorthand. I just happen to remember how I write a switch leap on beam when it's a C and I put an L next to it. I know that's a switch leap. That's just my little system and I check it anyway. But I rate a half, a tenth, a tenth and a half based on what I saw. And 9 times out of 10, it's the split. But I don't write bent knee. Like I'm not writing that specifically. I'm just because it's quick and you're trying to make sure. So some might, but most of them are like, yeah, the split position. So not completely helpful. But part of me is like, they should know. They saw the same routine. They should know. Well, why do you need me
Yeah.
to tell you exactly why the switch leap got a tenth and a half off? Like you're a college coach, you should know. I think it's helpful if they just said, why didn't you award the bonus? Oh, the bail wasn't in handstand. That is helpful feedback. We felt like she didn't hold the aerial to scale with her leg at 45. Oh, I didn't give the connection because the leg, rose too high out of the switch into the other. Like that would be helpful, but itemizing why I took a tenth on the double back, and then like it could have been amplitude, chest up. I mean, landings are obvious, but I don't think every judge is honestly filling that out in the exact way that they took the deductions the first time. But I don't think any of the judges are making up execution deductions. That's not where the problem is. They're very accurate with that, and everyone kind of has their system. When you see a turn with a half, releve, then you have a set deduction in your head for what that looks like. That's the easy part. I think it's more, like I said, the problems arise when they're not applying bonus correctly. They're not remembering that a release gets an extra, single bar release gets an extra tenth. They're not evaluating whether it was, or they're deducting too much in handstands. I have a friend of mine that gets mad at me, but technically a handstand is within 10 degrees, no deduction. You
10
can take off for
degrees.
execution. 10 degrees is still a lot. And they're like, oh, she wasn't a handstand. I'm like, but you're allowed to not be in handstand. Now, she was like, well, I take it anyway. I'm like, well, you're not judging it. That is the rule. And I think some people get unfairly knocked for that too. Slightly short is not a deduction. Now, if they're piked or the legs bend or the feet aren't pointed, yeah, absolutely.
I really like that you explained how the summaries work because I think a lot of times when we talk about how to fix this with technology, we still wouldn't have a button. We would just have a half a tenth button, tenth 3 times button, but there isn't a button for why you took the 10th. Although you could, I mean, the other option is you can timestamp with the official video. If there was official video from the judge's table view, then you can have it timestamped, and that timestamps mark when the deduction was taken. So you could just go and be like, oh, let me go immediately in a replay to that exact moment, and I can see exactly a replay really quick of exactly what I took. But it's a good explanation of why you don't necessarily see the whys of the deductions on
Well, I know it would be
a
helpful.
summary.
Well, even if they were allowed to submit with their routine summary the video, and the judge could rewatch it and say, "This is what I took off. This is how I saw it." Because then it would align perfectly. Because again, no one is like writing little notes like, "Oh, I did a bent knee, and then I did like." No, you're just doing a tenth and a half, a tenth, a half. Now, some might. I'm sure there's some super judges out there that are writing it out exactly. I will say, when there's something funky going on, I remember that routine. It doesn't, and not everyone's mind is that way, but I might remember Vanessa Atler's beam routine from the 90s.
Who doesn't?
Like, I do remember, right? But people do remember. Some people do remember the routine. Like when I see the judge walking over or the coach walking over, I know what this is about. I'm already with my answer. We didn't give credit because of blah. Like, so definitely in club meets, like I remember if there's something funky or if it was a lower score for a good routine. I remember why I did that, and I don't. But if it's just sometimes they're just random routine. Like sometimes they will do routine summaries on their exhibition athletes for no reason other than to get feedback, and then I feel bad. I'm like, oh, I don't have super specific. But I did take off for amplitude on this, and just especially when it's at the end of the meet and you've judged 4 rotations of an event, it is hard to accurately recall every half tenth that you took off and why.
What systems are in place to accurately monitor judging performance, and what are they effective?
They're trying. I think what's more effective is having a meet ref be in charge of co-judging and a kind of a mentorship kind of thing. That would be more effective. What they're doing now is you attend congresses and lectures, continuing education, and that gets you credits. And then you volunteer for certain events, and that gets you credits. Or you coach at Region 5 camp or any camp, training camp, and that gets you credits. And all of that helps you get ranked higher in your state. But you don't have to do it. But if you're ranked lower, then you're not going to get on the state or regional. But if you're in a saturated state that you're not going to get on that anyway, then what's the incentive? So you don't do any of that and you go judge college. And that's why we have a problem, because that's where they all are. And they're not attending continuing education. I mean, the judges that want to be on an NCAA regional, yeah, they're trying really hard, but that's not what's doing the entire college meet throughout the year. And then also with club, sometimes they're like begging to find a judge because there's a lot of great meets happening on the same weekend and they're all pulled in different directions.
And also, I mean, and the other part is, you hear judges are like, why would I go make $200 to coach NCAA when it's basically a 2-day job? Because I have to fly somewhere, spend the night, judge, fly home for $200 when I can judge a club meet and it's 10 hours. It's insane, but I'm going to make over $1,000 for that.
Well, because at the club meet, if they're not very good, they're in the little gym and they're judging level 2 and Excel bronzes all weekend. They much rather judge level 10s. I will say I did a D3 meet a couple weeks ago, and I had to drive 4 hours, sit in a chalky gym, which was a disservice to the athletes. It was not well run, and then drive back 4 hours, all for $175.
So that's
but
crazy.
I'm not one to say no. I said it was available. The athletes were great. They were very talented, legitimate college athletes, but they were not treated with the respect they deserved. I did say something to the assigner and to in the summary, but I don't know if anything will change. I know I kind of don't want to do that meet again because it felt bad, but I do. Our judging that weekend, though, was great. I mean, they did place us at a diagonal for watching beam. So I have no idea if we gave, yes, a diagonal. The beam was here and we were judging at a diagonal. I'm like, well, I think her back leg was up in that leap. I can't tell because this is a terrible view. But it really made fun watching flight from that angle. It's different. It was exciting to see it from a diagonal because I could see if they were crooked or not ahead of time. But yeah, not fair to them.
Do you think that there are external pressures that impact judging? So you mentioned earlier that a lot of people think, the judges are biased for one team, for instance, or the level of the meet, if it's an NCAAs versus a, regular club in-season meet.
I will say many times when judging, you're just cranking out a score. and you're just watching, and you're just like, new kid, salute, go, go, because we're trying to make sure the meet is running fast. Like, no one wants to be we all joke about being the turtle and being the slowest event. Like, definitely a club meet with a lot of kids, everyone's trying to be fast, efficient, and accurate. And so sometimes I'll look down at my people, this club is really good. Oh, it's them. Well, that makes sense. Like, we're so unaware of what the club is bringing to the table, and like, or if I see like, oh, these guys are a hot mess. What's going? Oh, okay. But it definitely isn't an inherent bias that occurs beforehand, because it's just one kid after another. When I go to regionals, I'll know what club they're from, but I also know that good kids make mistakes, and you just judge what you see. I would say the majority of judges just judge what they see or don't see, because they don't know what they're looking at. But I've never been with a judge that has ever inherently hammered or rewarded a kid differently. But that's it. I mean, I think they really just try to give the right score. That's important to them.
Is there currently a data-driven way to identify and separate the most consistent and best judges?
I think that's what they're trying to do with the scoreboard. I don't know if that's actually happening or not.
But you can opt out of the scoreboard, so not everyone's in it.
Right. So it's not a full. I opted in because I'm like, yes, give me feedback. If I'm doing something wrong, I want to know, because I want to fix it. But with club, the ranking is done by a subcommittee of that state, and it's done by feelings, thoughts, their experiences with that judge, which can be good or bad. But if you're a judge that always ranks, judges really lowly, then the committee is like, we don't like that. We always get eights with you, so we're not going to rank you very high. Like, I've been part of that committee before. I always try to go by at least who is trying to learn more. But just because you go to these congresses and clinics doesn't mean that you are better at judging. But there's definitely no data-driven approach that is happening. It's more of a feeling, if that makes sense, which can be good or bad.
If you were going to start at the beginning from testing and give judges the best chance to be the best that they could and know for a fact who the best judges are, so they go on to the state, the regional, the NCAA championships, what would you do start to finish? How would you change the system or keep what's already there?
That has very many layers to that question.
Let's start with testing.
So testing, I feel like, needs to be honestly probably biannual. Like, you would need to do one at the beginning of the season to hold your ranking, and I feel like you should only get one shot. And if you don't pass it, then your ranking goes down, or you can't judge certain levels. And then you would do one for the postseason. That's maybe a little trickier, a little harder to make sure that you can. And then the judges in your state or region are then ranked by that, and the people that score the highest, that's what they get. Now, granted, if they're going to cheat on it, I don't know, but if it's timed, like, it should be.
So should it be in person? Okay. Like, the FIG switched to doing it in person, and then they sort of changed back. But
I think you could, with cameras, like, if you have your camera on and there's facial recognition, like, there's ways with technology now that you could make a, not cheat proof, but you're going to have to try really, really hard if you're going to like have someone sitting on the other side of you feeding you the answers. Of course, well, then why are you even doing this? But I would think some kind of dual camera system where you're being recorded while you do it, and have it be in real time. Like, you don't get to watch the video again. You judge it like you would normally judge. You give a score and a start value like you normally would, and and it shouldn't be multiple choice. No multiple choice. Write your answer. Just like you would in a meet. Just honestly, give the correct start value and score. I don't even know. They were trying to do things in this college test where, like, oh, how much bonus would you award? Like, no, make me watch a beam routine, make me score it, make me give a start value, the end. And then compare you would have so much data right there of how everyone is evaluating these things.
And then, so that's the way you'd do the testing of the judges, and you do it more often. And then how about when you're actually judging?
I feel like the meet ref needs to have a more active role. And there's definitely been meet refs in the past that have done that, kind of the older guard that have retired. But it needs to be the most experienced judge needs to be the meet ref that understands all of the events and can sit down and judge a routine and immediately after the rotation is over, like, hey, I judge these two routines, kind of disagreed with you on some things. Have you considered this? Like, not make them change their score, but have a mentorship where they are trying to help educate them. But if you get the meet ref that is like, oh, well, we needed someone and she can't really judge as well as she used to, but she can be the meet ref. That's not helpful. And then they study. Of course, it's important that they know the administrative rules. That's the most important part right now for a meet ref. But if they also knew all the events and how to judge it, that would be fantastic. And I think I know some judges in our region have done that, but I feel like it hasn't happened a lot lately, and it would be super helpful to have on the floor mentorship, both in college and club.
Is there anything else that you want to include that we haven't covered that you want people to know, or you think should be changed, or something that you want to call out as a positive thing that's happening?
I do feel like the judges that are doing it love the sport. They're not doing it to collect a paycheck. They're doing it because they love, obviously, right? They're doing it because they love the sport of gymnastics, and they love seeing the athletes get better. Many of them have even told me that they're in it because they feel like they're making a difference in that kid's life, and they're giving them a score or helping them, teach them what they need to do to get a higher score. I do it because I think it's fun to be right. So
yes,
well,
that's a true gymnastics fan. Yes,
it's so satisfying to, like, when I love a bad bar routine, like, oh wait, I got the start value right, they were missing this, etc., because I like the puzzle and the brain activating and just trying to get that right start value and being a 10th with your judging partner. I'm like, yeah, we did it. Like, we got the right score. That is fun and satisfying in itself. It would be awesome if we could have some kind of unified judging system where we were actual employees of an overarching company and we got reviews and things like that. That would be great, but I don't know if that's really realistic with the amount of judges we have and the different programs that use the different judges. But
do you ever think in college now, you mentioned professionalizing judging essentially and having it be an actual employee, an actual company that you work for? Are there ever discussions in the break room at meets about how the coaches and gymnasts are making $500,000, $1 million, but the judges are making $175 for 12 hours of work?
okay, that doesn't happen. It's $175 for 2 hours of work.
It's 2 hours of work, but you had to drive 8 hours.
Oh, yes.
That's 10 hours.
Yes,
in other
correct.
countries,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You get paid for the time it takes you to get there. America just expects you to travel is on your own. I mean, you get paid your
mileage.
Mileage. You can't work another job while you're driving. Well, normally I would
correct.
Think, while you're driving.
I usually have to take.
So I count
vacation.
That time.
Yeah, for sure. No, there isn't really a lot of talk about that. I think they all love it. They think it's fun. They're doing it. I mean, no one. I know a couple judges that do it as their only income, but they're more they're retired. And so that's why they're doing it. I do it as a fun side hustle, and I get to go to different cities and I enjoy that. Now, when I go to a city out in the middle of nowhere, I'm like, why did I accept this meet? I did find at this last small little town, they had a cute little diner, and I did a little bit of work for my real job there, and that was fun and rewarding. But no, they don't really complain about the pay or the experience. I think they know what they're signing up for. Yes, there's inequality all over collegiate sports, but I don't have a solution for that. Because I get it. We're technically only working 2 hours, and $175 for 2 hours of work is a lot. And it's not hard. It's easy. Judging is so easy. Coaching is way harder. Yes, some judges still get it wrong. Yes, especially at a high level, trying to get them to hit and emotions, and especially if you're working with club as they go from young athlete to almost an adult. That is tricky to navigate. But judging's easy, so I don't even mind it. Now, my husband does mind the dry cleaning bill from every weekend
on the coats.
Yes, but it is what it is, because they do have to be cleaned after. I sweat a lot when I'm seated like that, and I'm usually wearing a sweater and a tie, and I definitely want fresh clothes every single day if it's a 4-day weekend. So yeah, the dry cleaning bill is a little high in meet season.
This is why I feel like the athletes should get like when the scholarship should include like a waxing and tanning budget, and the judges' pay should include a dry cleaning budget. These two
Totally.
things should
Oh my
true
gosh.
equity.
The college coach said, because he felt so bad, because you could see chalk all over my suit, like, hey, if you want, you can send me your dry cleaning bill. I'm serious.
Yeah, good times. Well, I just want to conclude this by saying I loved our local judge in Sacramento who used to come and do our intra squads, Fran. We loved her.
Fun.
She gave the best feedback. We looked forward to the day she would come watch our routines and then go over what we as a team like got deductions on or didn't, and wish she was the best. And I think she still judges sometimes. So I appreciate
That's
all
awesome.
the judges. I appreciate what you do. We just want to make it fair and better for all the great judges out there and help everybody be more prepared. So hopefully interviews like this can help that happen.
Well, yeah, and I think there is momentum within the judging community to continue to elevate the quality. And I think there are a lot of younger judges. Now that we're at such an advancement in skill, we're close to almost a ceiling in college and club. Like we're seeing obviously a higher difficulty in elite, but I think we're going to stay at this level for a while. And I feel like the younger judges won't have a lot as they age to keep up with. So I'm hopeful.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for shedding light on this, because a lot of fans have questions about this. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Thank you so much to Jason for sharing your experience with us, and I'm sure many people found this very interesting and have been waiting to hear this point of view for a very long time. So thank you so much for that. We did not talk about the 10s this week in our NCAA portion, where we have a new 10. Yes, we have a couple.
I didn't write it down, though.
Okay, Selena got a 10 on bars for Florida. Faith Torrez got a 10 on beam. Yeah. And then Jordan Chiles
on
floor. Yep. So no one has a gym slam yet. They still haven't gotten their gym slam events.
Correct.
Yeah. So Chio needs bars, Selena needs floor, Jordan needs beam.
Correct.
So we'll see. There's still
a whole bunch of regionals. And
2 or 3 meets left in the season for them,
could
probably.
Be 4.
Yeah. Could be 4?
Regional semifinal, regional final, national semifinal, national final. So if you make it all the way, you have 4 more meets.
4 meets. Yeah.
And Kaylin Chio is a sophomore. So,
Yeah, Chio definitely has time to get up there in the record. Selena and Jordan, because Selena's a senior now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Selena and Jordan, I don't think they're going to get any records because they don't have enough meets left. But Chio, I think, could get up there with the record holders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has 9 10s this year, 2 more seasons like that. You tie the Trinity, Jamie Day and True Jenny Hansen. So very possible.
Well, stay healthy, get up there in the rankings, because it's so exciting when that happens. It's time for feedback and your letters. You can send your letters into gymcastic@gmail.com. And if you want it to be anonymous, say that first thing. Don't use my name. Don't put it like at the end. That's very important. So 2 weeks ago, we had we went to UCLA and recorded our College and Cocktails episode, which is a live Q&A recap of a meet with Corey and Liv Karras. And people love that. We had a great time too. It was nice to mix it up and have other people join us. And Spencer made a joke about Muriel Grossfeld and the kids that we were with on the show. These youngsters, the youths sitting next to us, thought that it was a name we made up. Like Hudson Mildred Williams. So,
where did you come up with that name?
I don't know. Someone made it up. That's not his real middle name. So Muriel Grossfeld, a real person, a legendary coach from the 60s who competed with a Buffon, etc. I put a clip on last week in the show of the portion of College and Cocktails where we talked about that. So we had a letter this week from a gymnast who was coached by Muriel's best friend on College and Cocktails. And now we have another letter about Muriel Grossfeld.
So this one says, my coach was Muriel's brother. He told us when she broke her leg, she had a tall chair built that rotated so she could sit in the middle of the gym, smoke, and spin around and see everything.
Yeah. See, people think I make it up when I'm saying that, yeah, her thing was smoking in the gym, on the beam, under the beam. And there you go. Broken leg spinning around in a circle with her trail of, I bet she smoked a cigarette on a long filter like Cruella de Vil too. And my Dutchie, my great-grandmother also smoked on one of those like Cruella de Vil in her gold lame jacket. Or gold lame house coat, I'm sorry. Okay, explaining Stanford's performance.
Amy says, I'm a longtime listener and club member, started listening in 8th grade, and now I'm in my 3rd year of law school. Also, I'm a Stanford student, and so I wanted to remind everyone that finals were this past week. So I'm not surprised that the Stanford gymnasts were not their best at ACCs. I ran into a couple of them in the library. The good news is that now it's spring break, so the Stanford gymnasts have a ton of time to prep for regionals. I'm really hoping they'll make to nationals again. Thank you for all that you do. I look forward to procrastinating my schoolwork by listening to you guys each week. And this is from Tabby Douglas, week 12 fantasy gymnastics winner.
Mm-hmm. I do remember this is, the one time that I had I never had a spring break because it was always when we had wrestling nationals.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was always in Vegas. And then of course we would all go out.
So
and
you
then
did have a spring break.
I mean, I had spring break for
spring night. Not spring break.
I had 10 hours, basically. Yeah. We had dinner, and then if we could stay awake, because we were all so tired. But yes, I managed to stay up all night and had very good time. I did, yes. Mm-hmm. And because I had like a paper to write, and that was the one time that I did. This is not fair, but I have to say this wasn't cheating because I still did all the work. But I may have used my athletic training student knowledge to get myself an extension of 1 day on a paper. And then I was able to finish it. I did all the work myself.
Okay.
So
you got a fake extension.
I got a fake extension, which probably was true. I probably did have a concussion.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
But it was the one
who didn't do that. I mean, I didn't ever do that, but most people.
It was only an extension. It was not cheating. I'm just saying. Okay, equipment matters.
Laura says, your story about the bars coming down at American Cup gave me bad flashbacks. When I used to do gymnastics at the YMCA before upgrading to Golden Bears on the UC campus, we had to set up and take down all of the equipment for every workout. This is 45 years ago, but I'm pretty sure the upper bar was completely separate each time, and someone on the left and someone on the right would simultaneously lift it up and then slide it in together. I think we would be standing on chairs to do this. Anyway, I was doing this with someone else, and they lost control and let go too soon, and a large chunk of my ring finger was almost completely sliced off. After cleaning the blood off the hardwood gym floor, I went to the ER, where they just taped it back together after telling me some story about why stitches on that part of my finger wouldn't work, and through the miracle of the human body, it grew back together. However, I have a large discolored bump there, and when I was fingerprinted for my first job as an educator, we discovered I have no fingerprint on that finger. I also competed for my high school team, and although the equipment got to stay up, we had to take apart the floor sometimes. The YMCA floor had been pieced together folding mats, but the high school had pieces of hard foam you pieced together and then rolled the big carpet like mat over. There's no way to link the foam, so people pushed from the sides to make sure it was all tightly together. Well, someone failed because I was doing a round off into a rebounding half turn for a handspring or something, and my body turned, but my ankle stayed behind, caught between two pieces of foam. This resulted in a sprained ankle that I kept re-spraining and is apparently the cause of the arthritis I now have in that ankle. Equipment matters.
Yeah. This is why, you guys know, there is the mats that go underneath bars in the FIG regulations do not have to touch the bars. So there is like a 1 foot hole on either side of the mat that's underneath the bars. It's insane that this is allowed when so many gymnasts have broken bones and mangled ligaments landing on the side of a mat so many times. And this is what they allow. This is what the regulations are. Yeah, have a hole on either side. It'll be fine. Nothing could happen. No one's ever fallen in that area on bars. Yeah, it's freaking nuts. This reminds me, we had a story in the Des Moines Register today that former ISU gymnasts and coaches say the practice facility was unsafe and outdated. And they talk about how they did not have the pit is only 5 feet deep and the bottom was concrete, which is not a pit. That is just a
ditch.
A ditch, a danger ditch is essentially what that is. And they also and like, so some of these, the other thing they had was they didn't have heat or air conditioning. And Iowa, it gets very cold and then it gets humid in the summers. So they talked about how they also were in the same building as the pool. So it would be really humid and muggy in the gym and like the equipment would be wet. And this is not good. They had a giant fan they had to use to kind of like get the equipment dry. The other thing is they had holes in the floor. And so they talked about 4 athletes tearing their Achilles because of one hole in the floor, the same spot, and 4 athletes tearing their Achilles. The thing I would say about this article was all of these things are not okay, and they're all things that should absolutely make a gym unsafe. On the other hand, you would never let your athletes, no coach should ever let their athletes vault into a pit that's only 4 or 5 feet deep unless the gymnast is only 2 feet tall. Yeah, you can do that with little toddlers can go into a pit like that. But you would not let them there. You should never let them go into a pit that's that shallow. You could cover it with mats, like that was something you could do, but everyone always falls like through the mats or off the mats. That's the thing that happen. If the equipment is wet, then you don't let your athletes use it. And if there's a hole in the floor, you don't let anyone tumble on that part. And they did say they kind of tried to like mark it so people wouldn't, use that part. But like you put a big circle there so no one ever goes on that part. Like there were things that were, this is a true statement of an unsafe gym. On the other hand, these are all things that would be mitigated by a good coach, and part of that coach's job is to say, I'm going to find another gym we can work out in because this gym is unsafe, so we can actually do full floor routines. So that's part of the issue. The AD described how
the other part is this is a major university's athletic department that should be you should be upgrading this. Like, it's not acceptable to you are not barely scraping 2 pennies together.
Right. And to the point, this is what the Des Moines Register talked about, is that basketball and all these other sports got upgraded facilities. And they have the money for those, but they did not do this for gymnastics. And these are basic fixes they could have done for gymnastics. Yeah, even like fixing the hole in the floor. These are things they could have done.
Even fixing
the hole
in
the floor.
At minimum, fixing a hole in the floor.
Yeah, so it's like the AD described how the gymnasts were complaining and they weren't having the same experience as other athletes. Well, of course they fucking weren't. They're training in a dumpster. Of course they're not going to have the same experience. But you did have all of what you needed to, upgrade these other facilities. So clearly you left gymnastics in the toilet for a very long time. And this goes back to me saying, like, whatever happened there, Iowa State doesn't deserve gymnastics. So I hope another school adds gymnastics and they don't get it. But I know, the alumni are trying to raise money and they're trying to get the program back, but I'm just like, not if this fucker's still in place. I mean, what the hell, man? And by that, I mean the AD. Okay, so, the other thing I wanted to mention this week that I forgot about was Courtney McGregor. We had the Stuttgart DTB Pokal World Cup.
Mhm.
And Canada did amazing. Canada won the women's competition. They did great. But on vault, so Gabrielle Black of Canada won.
Mhm.
And then Courtney McGregor, New Zealand, who's a doctor, by the way. Yes, did she go to the Olympics? And then did she go to Boise State? And then did she go back to New Zealand and become a doctor? And then she tried to go to Worlds, and New Zealand was like, no, we don't want you. And then she was like, fine, I'm going to keep working out anyway. And now she went to the Turkey World Cup, made finals with Chuso on vault. And now in Stuttgart, she has won silver on vault and continues the great tradition. This episode is called Continuing the Great Traditions. She didn't fall off any podium. She is a doctor that is competing in elite gymnastics, like Epke, like Elze Hertz from the Netherlands. So I love this. It is my dream for her and Elze Hertz to be together at Worlds in Rotterdam. That would make me so happy. So congratulations to her and all of the other great gymnasts. Oh my God, the other thing that happened at this meet, they gave the all-around to the wrong person.
I did know about that, because you know what's fun? Texting with Kensley when something like that happens.
Oh, yes. Kensley was beside herself. I just, like, what are they doing with it's shot. These are Germans. Like,
that was exactly what I said.
What's happening to Germany? If this is the real sign of the fall of Rome, is when Germany making mistakes with numbers and rules. It's shocking. I mean, and this meet has been going on for like 50 years or something. So I was horrified. And they should have done a whole other presentation for them. Like, so they messy. Okay. We have one more letter with a happy ending. No, with a good. Anyway.
Should I just read it? And
it's because
ignore
you said the straight times.
Oh, I ruined it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Like we got a letter on College and Cocktails this week about how I'm too political.
You're too political. It's you. Oh my God. I woke up on Sunday morning to so many messages about Spencer's answer was perfect. No, it's a complete sentence. Yes. Much appreciation.
All right. Anyway, unrelated. Laura wrote in to say, I'm watching the Cal Stanford San Jose State tri-meet. Tonya Paulsson fell off beam, yet scored a 9.775. The commentators of every meet tell us a fall is 5/10 off, so how is that even possible? I love college gym, but the scoring is so frustrating. The happy ending Jessica was referring to is that the score was an 8.775, which is a normal score for a routine where you fell, and it was okay.
Yeah. And her start value was only 9.694 is what the judges gave. I mean, the real.
Then let's talk about agreeing on a start value, but pick your battles.
Yeah, but exactly. But there should be a special rule just for Tonya Paulsson because her form is so exquisitely perfect that there should be the McCool rule.
Jessica's like 9.775 for a fall is too low.
Sounds fine. What if everything else is above and beyond perfection for everyone? Yeah. If she doesn't make it as an individual to NCAAs, I will riot. I will not be okay. It will be the worst thing that ever happens. So the important lesson of this is, Laura, always have Verdius open so you can know what the real scores are. And did you notice this weekend, Verdius actually changed? There was a mistake in someone's name. Allie caught it. And Verdius changed it right then in the moment on the screen. We saw, boop, name change. I was like, yes, you want a flexible system that can be fixed in the moment. And they showed that they can do that. It was about Desidora's name. They had the wrong sister's name up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was exciting to see. All right.
I, on the other hand, did not notice and just put the wrong sister's name.
Remember to get your live show tickets for NCAAs. Remember, there is a discount that you can get now on the show. The discount ends on April 1st. So early bird discount, get those live show tickets. There is also a margarita bar across the street. People have a great time at this live show. It's very fun. And we will...
we did get the question when discussing this live show. Someone said, is it at the margarita place? So this theater may or may not be also secretly known as the Margarita Place.
The Rosemarian Theater, which we love because it's at the Latin District and it is a free art center for kids. So this is why we chose this place, because they give back to the community. Kids get theater class there, which we need more theater nerds in the world. Dance, art, fine arts, all of it is free to the community. And it also has 2 giant symbols for female in brick on the outside of the theater. Have you noticed that, Spencer? No, because you always come in the back door.
During the nighttime. So I don't see. I've never been there during the day.
Okay. Anywho, we love this theater. Behind the scenes, it's at noon Pacific, and we talk about life, gymnastics, answer your questions live. And if you can't join us live, that's okay, because you can add it to your favorite podcast player. Instructions are always in the show notes. So we'll see you later this week for Behind the Scenes. Until then, remember to take off on gay, split on rights. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on Friday at noon for Behind the Scenes.